Live from New York, it's Sunday morning.
So it's Sunday morning. We just wrapped up the Prickett Sports School of the Longhunter 2023. I'm here with Nathan Kobuck, author of the Buffalo Trace 1765 blog. Certainly got a lot out of your articles recently, my winter moccasins especially. I'm looking forward to showing you, but we're going to go over my kit, talk about some things that are right, some of the things that are wrong, some of the things that maybe I still need, and some of the things that I can drop altogether. So the first thing, especially that I've had
to... The first thing is, this wasn't my idea to critique his things. So everyone knows that no. I am not that guy.
Yeah, I roped him into it big time. You're actually... you're great at events because you do have so much knowledge and you're not walking up counting stitches, which I really appreciate. So
I'm doing it. Just no one notices.
I'm pulling you into it today. One of the things that I really had to think about, especially for this event, was food. It's not usually a consideration for more than a 24-hour period if I'm out in the woods on my own. So I guess I'd like to start with my food wallet. I have these two linen market wallets. They're hand sewn. We kind of discussed those earlier. So far as I know, those are authentic, but you're welcome to pick one of those up maybe a little later once you've cleared some of the things off. But I brought some apples on this trip. That little horn there is my salt horn. And I had a loaf of bread, which I actually picked up at Panera. It was like $4, fresh baked, loaf of bread. And then in these wallets here, I had some other foods. There's jerky on this side, which I guess you could call jerk. I've heard it called in a lot of like 18th century contexts, okay? And then, I don't know how accurate this would be, but I had some oats. I made some oatmeal with apples cut into it earlier. In here I have some chocolate. It's 100% cacao, and there's a little bit of sugar in there too. I just kind of threw them into the same bag. To be honest, I didn't have a separate bag for the sugar, but I made some hot chocolate recipe earlier. The white bag there is coffee, and then in this I have some beans and rice. There's a little tin of tea and a little flask, which I just picked up yesterday. So of that spread, what do you say? What are maybe some normal foods that you would take to an event like this? Do you think this is an appropriate setup?
Very appropriate. Like I really like how you have the jerk and stuff in a small bag, because I do that a lot with. So especially if I'm hunting and I stash my gear, I'll take out a small wallet. It's either put in my pocket, throw over my canteen strap. That way I can, I have that food with me while I'm walking around. Yeah. And I don't have to worry about it.
That's a good idea.
You definitely should get a way bigger flask. That's the first thing I see. You're going to get bored. I carry, like, coffee. I carry a lot. A lot of guys drink coffee. I don't see anything wrong with anything you have here or the way you're carrying it. I think it's entirely appropriate.
Okay.
One thing I've been starting to do lately, you see a lot of accounts, is guys carrying flour, which I was hoping to get to that this weekend. We were all hanging out, but the weather didn't help with that. Sure. So where guys are actually making basically a hard bread in the field. Because you see this constantly, you see guys talking about having flour and their flour going bad and things like that. Like the Justin Miner, the speaker this weekend, talked about Cresswell. He's carrying corn, a lot of corn. But for what, heading out by yourself for a weekend or something, I think everything here is good. The cat approves.
It's good. It's cat approved. Coffee. I was curious. Right now what I have, to be honest, like I'm a college kid. I have a Keurig, like a little off-brand Keurig in my dorm room. It's all we're allowed to have. We can't have like a full-size coffee maker. And so with that come these K-cups. And so to get the coffee that's in that bag, I cut into some of the bottom of these real cheap Costco, K-cups. So it's just raw, ground up,
right.
K-cup powdery coffee. You think
they still sell? A lot of grocery stores in Pennsylvania carry it. It's like a red bag coffee where there's even a grinder in the aisle where you pour it in. That's generally what I'll carry, because the beans are already roasted, so you don't have to mess with that. And then for the amount, I in real life don't drink coffee. I only ever drink coffee if I've been in the woods for a couple days, okay. and I need something besides water.
Fair enough.
But in tea, it's something I've gotten into more of the black drink or the Yupon tea, carrying that, just because it's really caffeinated, and there are points whenever with my job and children and everything, I'm generally tired when I'm in the woods, so that really helps. But no, I love the stuff you have. I think it's really appropriate, and especially for doing scouts in the woods by yourself. You know, and if you have more guys in the party and stuff, then it starts becoming a part of breaking the food up into, you know, I'll carry the chunk of ham, someone carries the flour, things like that. That way you're loosening up, freeing up space in your pack.
Makes sense.
So, you know, talk about your fire stuff in the other wallet here, or?
Sure. Well, along the line of food, utensils and stuff, I'm curious, would you take a look at the silverware there?
Okay.
There's a horn spoon, there's a twisted fork, and then that knife is like a family heirloom item. I don't know where it came from. I've been carrying that stuff for years. I've never really been sure, as well as that boiler there. That's another thing.
Right.
I don't know how accurate it is versus a trade pot or something to that effect.
What I would recommend for a kettle, this is one of Hot Dip Tin's tin kettles. You know, see, it's not massively big. And you see a lot of different size tin kettles being traded for pit or at different hunting places. Because this, from what I understand, is a Civil War style.
Okay.
So if you're looking to go for accuracy, I mean, for what you're having, what you're doing, it's perfect. But if you're looking to go up that next step, like we're talking off camera about juried events and things, this is kind of what you want to have in your camp. Plus, then, like you see, I drink out of the kettle. I generally don't carry another tin cup.
Okay.
Now, if I'm carrying flour, I do, because I use that actually as a measuring device.
Gotcha.
But you know, I try to make things serve multi-purposes. A lot of guys didn't have, you know, you're thinking about it, you're going off. When you look at a family probate inventory, you're not seeing a ton of kettles. You're not seeing a ton of things. So for that guy to take his one family kettle out in the woods with him, you know, how are they going to cook? So I try to make things multiple uses.
That makes sense.
And then for knives, I prefer like the trade knives, the butcher knives. And then, I was trying to give this to you all weekend, but it hasn't happened yet. So that's for you.
Oh, no
I
kidding.
knew you were looking for a knife.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
A gentleman named Rich Worthington did that, and it's just a regular English style.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Butcher knife scalper.
Thank you. That's a big upgrade there. I appreciate it.
I mean, that knife, having it as a fairly heirloom is cool. You know, I like to use it for hunting and stuff. Horn, spoon, fork are awesome, but I generally forget silverware or things, and pieces of bark work in a second. The side of your knife. So, because my approach to a lot of treks and events is way more haphazard and non-Dwayne-like. I'm very, very just kind of go out and do that, you know, run out. Like I said, with the plate, you know, for an event like this, it's cool to carry around, but out in the woods, you know, just eating right out of the kettle.
It's a pain in these market wallets because it always rides funny. You can't roll your bedding really around that like circle shape. So.
Yeah, so like I just generally eat, drink everything out of the one kettle. You know, not real high. I think Wood Mason mentions in his account that when he's discussing about these frontier people that they wash their feet in the same kettles that they cook in.
Nice.
You know, so it's keeping it kind of real.
Yeah.
So.
Well, with footwear, I do have these two winter moccasins there. Stitched those up. I use this 5-ply white linen thread.
Right.
I guess I've been kind of hesitant in leather work to go with fake sinew because it is fake.
That is a good choice right off the bat. Smart man. You want to avoid sinew at all costs. Think of the children. But
those are real like stiff and
yeah, you really
greasy. I
want to
haven't
proof
worn them
these.
in a while, so.
Yeah. For sewing up leather, if you're using if you can get a hold of brain tin, the strips, just the leather wang, is what I sew up stuff because now linen, like thicker linen like that's good, but the leather over time getting wet and drying out, it's gonna pop. Where leather kind of stays together for a lot longer. You did a good job on these. The only thing that I would tweak or change is the flap. Slide it the whole way around. You want the flap to be open up in the front.
I see. It'd make it a lot easier to put on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See,
that makes sense.
See, they like that.
Mm-hmm.
So you can wrap
Like
around.
that tongue too that comes
Yeah.
out. That's nice.
And that's on these vamp style moccasins. But that's the only thing that I would change on these. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, super nice and waterproof, or water resistant, I should say.
It was about 48 hours ago. It
Yes.
was in a January thunderstorm, and I was just sitting there warm and dry. So.
Yeah. And you put the foot wraps or things in there, and you can change them out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a stack of those folded right there next to you, and then under those are the garters for the leggings that are directly underneath.
Okay.
Those unfortunately are machine sewn, which I know is not really accurate. And then I actually made them too tight, so I had to make a slit up the side a little bit to be able to actually pull them on. So those I've subbed out for these false buckskin or false brain tan buckskin ones before.
Oh, and these that German tan, like you can kind of get from Crazy Crow thing.
This is this was commercially tanned, and it comes in that ruddy yellow school bus color that
Okay.
I absolutely hate. So
Right.
I've actually thrown it in the washing machine before with dye remover, and it spins around and gets all stretched out. And then once I pull it out, I don't necessarily tack it out, but I'll stretch it off and on as it's drying. And that's how I've come to have these, and they end up pretty soft.
They
but there's,
look good. I mean, they look
Yeah, I was looking for some cheap way to replicate
No, you did, because-
something. So
Well, I recommend, especially newer guys, especially with leggings, like these leather breeches are made from that German tan leather like Crazy Crow sells, and it's pretty good stuff. It is oil tanned. So, but yeah, these legs look good. Especially if you. I didn't even think about Rit remover. That's a good
Yeah.
one.
somebody, I found that in an old blog article. It was like 20 years old. Somebody had commented that.
Oh yeah,
somewhere,
those
and I
old
just
20-year-old
ran with it.
blogs. I wouldn't know anything about those.
Over there to your left, I guess now we can just kind of work this way. I have the
Okay.
Tumpline that I wove. That's made of 100% hemp, 18 strands. That's about 20 feet long, fully unrolled. And for, I guess, ease of use in this video, we're not unpacking it actively, but I have in the past wrapped these two market wallets, put them together in the middle of a bedroll, wrapped that together with the oilcloth there as the exterior, which is also, that's commercial oilcloth, and then I hit it with I think 303 boat cover waterproofer or something like that, and it is really, really great waterproofer, and it's fire resistant, which
Right.
I guess was attractive to me at the time, but looking back, I kind of wish I would have gotten the white sheet and painted it authentic. But that's usually how I come up with the bedroll, and then I'll throw that tent stake in there, because I'm usually making a wedge, and just have one good, reliable stake for me has been a plus, especially at events, but I know probably in the woods
Right.
you might cut one.
I definitely would. If you're going out in the woods, I'd drop the stake. Good job on the Tumpline. And they're super useful. Use them for a quick center ridge for a shelter, tying that between two trees. If you and a group of guys are out, you take it between two trees, twisting it. It makes a really nice, safe gun rack. Because if you're in a hunting situation, you have an actual loaded firearm.
Yeah.
It locks it in, as opposed to putting it against a tree where you always run that risk of it sliding off.
That's a great tip.
That's actually a Dwayneism. That's I'm not gonna take credit for that one.
All right.
Let's see. So
Yeah, that's been the bedroll setup. Right there, the only thing we haven't talked about, I think, on this left side is that horn cup right there.
Right.
I don't know how accurate those really are.
they're decent, but once again, you got a lot of tripling of equipment here. Is what I'm seeing. It's nice, but put it on your desk in your dorm room with some stuff in it. And,
Sure.
Because it's like I said, tricking up. You only need one or two.
Yeah,
You're not really
going
gonna be.
four.
Yeah, you're.
Yeah.
So it's cutting out stuff that you don't need. Getting rid of that extra weight, doubling up on equipment and stuff.
So I seconded that then. I got this tin cup here, which I don't know how accurate this guy is
those
either.
are-
It's kind of
They're
thin material. but-
decent tin cup, but like I said, you're tripling up on
things up.
stuff.
Okay, I got the canteen there as well. I've seen guys wrap those in cloth, and I don't know how accurate that style is.
The Ligonier style half moon is good. I've seen them purchased at Fort Pitt by natives. Canteens have been something I've been really going hard on lately. They're actually a hard item to document on hunters or anybody in the backcountry. The only thing I've been able to find consistently is pocket bottles.
Okay.
Which I normally have one on me, but I don't. It's just a small glass flat bottle. And that's really all I've been able to find. One Kentucky guy has a canteen, but he also has a regimental coat, so he's done military service.
I think guys are moving from like creek to creek pretty often, just drinking as they go.
Or using just glass bottles. You know, that's one thing, because you know, we don't think about that in our single-use modern world, but you know, it's why you find glass bottle shards all over every kind of archaeological site. You
Yeah.
know, because yeah, they can break on you in the woods. But I've been carrying the same glass bottle for 20 years, and I am really hard on equipment, and that thing surviving that long, you know, I just tuck it in one side of the market wallet, and it's, you know, and especially if you're doing stuff, you know, you want to get home at the end of the weekend and be safe. You don't want to have Giardia for the next week or two, and so, you know, carrying water with you, you know, getting canteens is something that I'm not, like I said, I can't find them, but I'm not going to sit there and nitpick guys and be like, oh, you should, because there is a certain level that we have to do of safety for this.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, one of the things I've wondered about incorporating in a kit, and I've spoken to a few people this weekend about having one of those life straw filters. My understanding is there's a few groups that are pretty accurate, but that do allow
Yes,
those
a
as well as
lot. I mean,
contacts and
you know,
medications and things.
I've gotten my fair share of 18th century diseases at events doing things, so guys like you don't have to. And
Thank you for your service.
yes, and so no, get life straws, iodine tablets, all those things. You know, they're good. They're like I said, you want to, you know, if you're doing a couple days in the woods, you don't want to be paying for it later.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, so moving on, down here, I guess kind of in line with the winter gear, I got these wool stockings. I'm wearing a pair right now. I also have these mittens, and then these little guys, I'm not sure what fabric. Pretty much every reenacting storefront online seems to sell these fingerless gloves, and they're great when you're waking up and getting out of bed. But I mean, as I look at, you know, some of the stitching on those, I'm not sure
And
how
you don't
accurate
really
they
see these.
are.
I mean, like I think like the Scrooge movies and Victoria era things kind of made these popular because they're old timey.
Okay.
If you look at images and stuff, you really don't see the fingerless gloves.
Yeah.
You see a lot of mittens, a lot of
What about
the mitts.
Okay. Yeah. That's what I was
you
going
know,
to ask
things
about.
like that. But these I've not really been able to document anywhere.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. And then these are all hand knit, 100% wool, the stockings, the mittens, and also my hat that I had on earlier. And I've gotten good use out of these so far. They're from South Union Mills. Can't say enough about them. I know you've got the stockings on as well.
Yeah, they do good stuff, and it's consistent. And you know, mittens are an awesome thing, especially for hunting, doing anything. You need to have something between your hand and that cold metal barrel, because that will suck all the life right out of you when you're walking around.
I can imagine. Yep,
So yeah,
that'd be
no.
tough. Cool. All right. Well, I guess into the middle, Simeon England Tomahawk. That's new to me as of this weekend. Really, really proud owner now
Yes,
of one of
it
his
should be.
works. I guess there's probably not a whole lot to discuss there, considering
No.
we spent a lot of time in his seminars and stuff.
And the nice thing, like he was going to point out, with the small hawks like this, you might split some kindling and things like that, but this isn't, you know, you're not taking trees down and stuff. So you'd be carrying an axe for that. And then having that hammer pull, you could do a lot with that. As far as like, if you have coffee beans, smashing them up. You know, if you're doing a shelter, actually pounding in that steak, you know, things like that. But yeah, the hammer pull, once again, it's kind of got a double use to it. You know, it's got multiple things there.
Yeah.
Plus, he does some really sweet work, and it's just nice to have.
It's just pretty to look at, yeah. This is the knife I've been rocking, which I will now replace with this one. This guy was a cheap one, picked up online.
Yeah, these are kind of the standard, you know, right now, the trade knives. And they're nice, and they're way better than what, generally when you see catalogs, they'll have like the French style, English style, Dutch style, and they're all being made out of the same company in Pakistan. And with so many guys out there that are decent bladesmiths now, you know, these things I point people away from them.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I mean, the nice thing about this knife for using is the handle.
I would point me away from that if I
Yeah.
could go back in time and
Yeah.
save the $30. I tried to cut one of those apples with that knife earlier
Yeah.
right here, and I couldn't get it through the skin of the apple.
You really have to, with any of these Pakistani blades, you have to really go then with a file to redo the blade or a belt grinder or something to really get a nice sharp edge on it.
Yeah.
But I try to recommend it because, once again, everybody, when you're starting, you're like, I need this. You know,
Right.
You're looking around at events, and you're kind of like, and so it's like, well, that looks like that, and it's, but then you say, when you use it, like this won't cut like that one does. You
Yeah.
know,
No
it's
way.
a big difference.
Yep. I remember flipping through the catalog, just thinking, like, pretty much circling everything that I thought I
Yes.
needed, you know, and it's like, you don't just want to dive in like that. Okay, so we talked about this knife, which, thank you again. This is a horn that's new to me as of this weekend.
That's,
I'm really proud of that.
that is a sweet horn.
I think it's a really good looking horn. It's been years I've been
You see
rocking
the-
this
Oh yeah,
real
you can
tiny
even,
one, so.
that, looking at, having a horn thin enough to hold up and you can see where your powder level's at is actually pretty handy
I
with your
didn't even
hunting.
think of that. That's really a cool thing, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, most like you'll hear old timers be like, every horn was like that. No, they weren't, but when you have one, it is. It's like, it comes in handy.
Yeah, that's a cool thing. This powder measure I made myself. I ordered some of these antler tines off of Etsy and drilled this out. Maybe kind of crude. It's not real thin like some of the originals.
Yeah, I mean, it's a charger. You know, you got it. It's, you know, it's functioning and good. You know, it's not like, there's a lot of ones that are pretty rustic. You know,
Yeah.
not everything needs to be a immaculately carved fish face piece of CLA art. You know,
Those are cool though.
yeah, they're cool. But I mean, I've made powder measures just twisting together busted up kettles. You know, there's things. So it's
Yeah.
keep rocking that, man. You're good.
And then this bag, kind of cheap buckle on there, said hand forged, but as I'm looking at it, I don't really think that it was. That's the same linen thread that I used to sew up those
Right.
moccasins.
And you
various
did
weights
this
of
one?
leather. Yeah.
Yeah, you did an awesome job on the pouch. I saw it. I remember you put the pictures up when I was looking at them, and you know, you did a really good job on the construction. I'm not a giant fan of the fringy bags. That's just me.
Yeah. I don't know how accurate they are.
Well,
that was
you see a lot of
lot of
19th
conjecture.
century stuff kind of bleeding in back and forth. I go with the more plain style everything.
sure.
But
Like
no,
a
you did.
square Wallace
Yeah.
Gustler Virginia pouch.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you're thinking of anything, try to channel your inner Wallace. You know, get that going, man, because you can. Simple is generally a lot better, and it helps you out down the road.
And then one of the things
But
I
you did, but I love the way, because you did a really good job on the stitching. You know, you don't have. This isn't a roadkill bag. You know, and you see a lot of guys carrying roadkill. You got some really good stitching and nice work on that. So
Thank
I mean,
you.
you've definitely got a hand for that. So just keep cranking on
Yeah,
it.
I appreciate it. I certainly will. There's one of these cow's knee lock covers in here. I don't know how accurate it would be to carry a full gun case, like a wool gun sock, but I have one of those too.
You see gun cases mentioned. There's a gentleman killed on the Cherokee campaign in the 77, 76, and that's one of the things in his inventory is a gun case. And cow's knees are always a good choice to have.
Okay.
This did a good job on this one.
That was real simple.
Yeah, and
these
you
are all
really-
dorm room builds. So.
Yeah, I carry a gun case, especially for an evening. You slide it over the gun, then it doesn't get a ton of surface rust, and you don't have a German yelling at you to clean it later.
I
Or,
woke up this morning. I was kind of surprised on
Yeah.
the barrel there. It was starting to rust up. So.
but and then for hunting and stuff, these are the way to go for keeping the powder dry in there when you're moving from spot to spot. You know, and one thing you can do, wrap the lock of your gun with like saran wrap or something. You dampen this, you put on there, kind of clamp it down or tie it on,
Yeah.
and it'll conform to your lock.
That's awesome.
So then you don't have to keep it tied on as much.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit more forgiving than it is, because vegetable tan has a memory, and so that's what it'll stay right on there. So
Yeah.
you can just pop it on and off.
Yeah, that's a great tip because I saw one. I think that was Dwayne's yesterday. That was a real snug fitting.
I did the same thing he just mentioned. I wrapped it, my gun is saran wrap, and I used like that blue painter's tape that doesn't have the really sticky adhesive, and just wrap it around the leather to hold it in place.
Yeah, that's a good tip. That's really great idea. Yeah, I should definitely do
Notice how he keeps playing off camera,
that.
because he's scary.
I have my hat here, and I've read some things. It was unfortunately after I bought this one about how hats were most likely black.
Get a
if
black
they were
hat,
worn
man.
At all.
We're
Yeah.
good. We're gonna find you a black hat.
All right. So that's next on my list then. This
Cause-
was the color of this buckskin actually before I hit it with the dye remover.
Okay,
and maybe
yeah.
that was preferable looking back. This doesn't really have
No,
like a
man,
smoked
this
color,
like
but
I said, you're fine, dude.
Okay, all right. So I feel good about that. I popped 2 turkey feathers in here, and then this is one of Sheldon's turkey calls.
Right.
Kind of stuck in the hat band. It just looked good to me, but I don't know what you see during the
Images, you see feathers and things with the turkey calls. Trick I use for that, if I'm actually going to use it, tuck it into your buttons.
I saw somebody with a pipe.
Yeah, you just tuck them right in there. I'll do that, and it's right there, ready to go. Because I've lost them actually tucked into my hat. Because that's
Okay.
one thing that you
Yeah.
you don't notice it.
That's a good point. And then I got another wallet, usually that I carry one of these linen market wallets, and I just put some kind of miscellaneous items in there. One of the things I've been kind of curious about is whether to carry a razor, and that was something I asked Wallace Gustler about. He remembered one account where guys had, I think it was a reverend, I can't remember this guy's name, he had been out with some frontiersmen, they're coming back into town, they stopped at the river shave before they made it into like civilization again. But that was the only account he could think of where somebody had one, and I guess I was kind of trying to justify it because it looked cool to
You
have a
see
straight razor.
razors as purchasing things. Now, let me show you something. This is an 18th century razor, but it's an 18th century razor that would be common in China.
Okay.
These pop up a lot, and you'll see them in like, random antique stores, and it says 18th century and stuff. It's because whenever the Chinese came over, a lot of these razors came with them. So they ended up in circulation in America. These don't pop up in the 18th century in North America.
Gotcha. Okay.
You want to, Scott Somerville, he sells some amazing razors through Townsend and Son. They're the ones to get. If you're actually going to shave, and then that's a whole other,
I'm sure.
a whole other monster. But yeah, these,
Yeah.
put that in the dorm room and
Good decoration.
yes.
In that same hygiene conversation, Wallace mentioned one thing that a lot of people don't carry in their kits that is in a lot
Right.
of original writing and stuff is a horn comb. Mine unfortunately snapped in half. So that's the comb shard that I have.
No,
Which
yeah,
it
horn
has come in
combs.
handy because, man, when you're wearing a hat for like 2 or 3 days, your hair gets kind of matted. Like, I
Horn,
figured lice in the time period would have been a concern.
boxwood combs and stuff. I know for us, our crew, like there's been times where, I have long hair, and at the end of, just a couple days out, just combing your hair and getting it all entangled just completely changes your mindset on the world. Like, you actually break out the soap and wash your face and everything, and comb your hair, and it's like you're like, okay, I could do another 2 days. I'm good.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are definitely some and even if it's broken, now it's got character. See,
Yeah. Yeah. I
you're
guess
getting
so.
broken stuff in your kit like mine is. So you're good.
Yeah. This was something I picked up back in the summer camp days. It was cool to show the scouts when I was walking around, but this is one of those like colonial money kits, and I put it in this little bag.
Yeah.
Now this is supposed to be like a coin from every single one of the colonies or something,
Yeah.
which
No,
seems maybe unrealistic to
they-
have such a variety, or whether you'd even carry currency like that at all.
You
I
do
guess
see
is-
it whenever Heckwelder Zeisberg is talking about natives describing European camps. They talk about how they don't look at where they're camping, they don't look at what kind of wood they throw on the fire, and sometimes he mentions they leave things behind, sometimes even money. So you do see it, and things like this I call they're like pocket garbage. You got stuff in there, and if you're doing interaction with the public, these are the kind of cool things to have.
Yeah.
That you can help, especially it really, just for talking to kids and stuff.
Yeah.
And plus, if you're doing gambling in camp or something like that, you then have something to use.
Yeah, the pocket garbage moniker reminded me I got this pocket knife in my pocket as well.
Okay.
I'd take a look at that.
These Kato knives, these are far and away the most common knife you see traded to just about everybody. They are everywhere. Yeah, these are awesome to have. And these are the Pakistani blades again, though, so you really got to do some work to get a good edge on these.
Gotcha.
I've got a bunch of these at the house for I do for my Indian trader stuff, and it's like there are guys out there selling high-end versions of these that they're awesome, but for what you're doing, getting it they're like South Union Mills has it for like $20. You can't go wrong
Nice.
if you put a good blade on them, and then if you lose them, you're not heartbroken. Where if you lose a $400 clasp knife in the woods, you're really gonna be bumming.
That makes sense. I've carried this cordage in some different quantities. This is a piece of that same hemp that I
Okay.
sewed that up with. And then this is like some jute cord from a craft store. I guess I've been in some pinches pre-Tumpline where I've needed a little piece of rope or something to get one of those tabs on the tarp up onto a tree or something. So I've kind of added this to the kit, but once again, I don't know how.
Right. From what I'm finding, you see a lot of guys making rope or quick cordage out of raw deer skins.
Okay.
That was like something else I had on the docket for us to do this weekend that didn't happen. You see them, basically you'll take rawhide, you cut it, you wet it, and you can twist it together, and it makes a real quick, easy rope, and it was something that was readily available.
Was that real tight? I remember there was a cordage demonstration last year, and it was real tightly.
You can get it. The trick with it, what I found, is take your kettle, fill it with water, you throw the cordage up over a tree limb, and you spin it, and that spins one side real tight, and you hold that, switch it over to the other kettle, spin it, and then you spin them both the opposite direction, and you get some real nice tight cordage.
Wow.
And
That's a life hack right there.
it works real easy in a pinch.
Yeah.
And I found that in a number of accounts. They're using that at Michilimackinac, Detroit, Fort Pitt, where guys are getting paid to just sit there and make rawhide ropes, because that's what they're wrapping the bales up and stuff with as well. So it's, because, I mean, rope is something that we would have had access to, but it's not something we want to go hack it and slice on, because it's a harder thing to get. Where in the 18th century, where there's no game laws, it's a lot easier to get a deer hide.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. I got a little sewing kit here that I put together. There's all kinds of things in here. And I got to warn you, this was one of the first sewing projects I did, was making the sewing kit. So unfortunately there's some mistakes, and one of the sides here is kind of open. You can see that there. So I guess just be careful that it doesn't all dump. But there's little thread winders in there. There's a piece of linen tape that I took a Sharpie, to be honest, and made a little ruler out of, just to have kind of ease of measuring things. And then there's also that awl right there poking out, which matches with this stuff. Is some kind of extra stuff for leather patching and things. I have this little needle case with a whole bunch of leather needles, the tri-point stuff. And then there's some extra buckskin in here. That's the same variety as this.
What I'll do a lot of times with my sewing stuff, especially because you have all the sharp little things like might file, like needles, awls. Wrap them up, throw them inside your moccasins or spare moccasins, because then it doesn't stab you. Because believe me, I've been stabbed a couple times by awls popping through the blanket.
Those little corks pop off easy.
Yeah.
Yep.
But no, that's awesome. All of this, like with the sewing part, man, this is all a giant learning curve. The first, my stitching is still way not where I want it to be.
Yeah.
So the fact that you're taking the time to go out to hand stitch and stuff to try it out, it's all practice, man.
Yeah.
Don't sweat it. But
I appreciate it.
Good job on that.
Yeah, thanks. Well, this morning we were talking about how after I made that, I got to working on these market wallets and everything, and then it was like, wow, I can sew now. And I started making these little adjustments to my own outfit with these new skills. It's kind of cool. I was like, wow, I know what a hem is and stuff. I was starting to get the terms down.
And like those videos, Burnley and Trowbridge do. They've got a hand for shirts, market wallets, different things. Some advice a friend of mine gave me when I started really getting into hand sewing was, if you learn how to make a shirt and a pair of trousers, you can sew anything. And using those tutorials, like I still have trouble sewing shirts. The cuffs are real tricky, but with those videos you can go back, keep rewinding back to watch how you do it.
Yeah.
So I mean, like I said, I'm not a proponent of everybody has to have everything hand sewn, but once you do it, this is an expensive hobby, and if you can do things like that on your own, then you've saved yourself a lot of time.
Yeah.
And just as far as I make a lot of extra gear for loaner stuff for new guys who come out and want to go do stuff, and that's all practice too. So
There's a sense of pride in that hand sewn stuff too.
Yeah.
There's probably between 80 and 100 hours in that Tumpline. I just sat in the dorm room and played movies and FaceTime friends and just wore my fingers raw making it. And now I'm like, man, I love that thing.
I think I'm on my 200th Tumpline, so I've got neat calluses here now.
Yeah,
So
I'm sure.
just keep cranking them out, man. It's fun.
Only things left here. I got this bar of soap. I don't know how accurate it is or what kind of soap it is, but I
Any
never
lye
actually
soap
put
you're
it to
going to be
use.
good at,
Okay.
Yeah. So, your stuff is really nice. It's insanely nicely organized. It's kind of scaring me a little bit. I mean,
I had a little time to set things up, so And then I got this little blanket pin. I've seen guys dissing these online. I've seen other people
They're-
swear by them.
No, they're. I'm gonna say this, and this is gonna go on YouTube, and people can hate me, not him. There is no archaeological evidence in North America for the use of these things. Zero. If you can find it, I will eat Dwayne's hat. Okay. Yeah, they've been popular, and I get them, but there's 1,000 ways to do that without that.
Yeah.
You know, for wrapping a match coat around, if you really want to keep it tied on, put a musket ball in one side, tie it off with a little loop, and do it the same on the other.
That's a good idea.
There's accounts of guys using their cleaning jags. You can wrap
Oh,
that
yeah.
through there like a pin. You know, if you look at the information, there's a lot of tricks that they give, just throwaway lines that help you out. But like I said, I've never, there's no existence in archaeology. You know, it just happened. I think that was a problem guys had, and there was a thing that was out there because of things like the SCA and stuff. People doing medieval reenactments that they're like, oh, well, obviously it's Scottish, so everything Scottish is okay in North America. Well, that's not really the case.
Yep. I got a fire starting kit. The kit I guess I'm confident enough in. It's a real simple C-shaped fire steel, and then I've been using char cloth after this weekend. I now understand how to use chaga and some other more natural things. So looking forward to switching to that. This actual container though, unfortunately this top part broke. I got this glue which is almost the same color as beeswax except for the weird shine. So I tried to glue this back on. I'll probably have to replace this thing eventually, but a container like that,
You're fine, man.
Okay.
Especially keep that in your gear. I keep a couple fire kits on me. I have one like that's in my pack, and then I'll carry one in my pocket. And then you always have a fire kit with you when you got your gun. I mean, and that's something guys will get scared about. Of course, do all the, we'll talk about this weekend about, the dad tips. Where guys are like, thanks, Dad. Make sure your gun's point in a safe direction. Blah blah blah. But yeah, you always have a Flint Steel kit with you, and that it's generally the way I light fires anymore. Some flash pan in there. I'll hold a piece of chaga with my bullet mold out over the flash, touch it off.
good idea.
That gets that, it's ready to go. In seconds, and I'm not digging through all my stuff for things. But yeah, no, that fire kit's awesome. Keeping the stuff, and it comes in real handy, especially if you have a loaded gun. You don't want to go shooting it off.
Yeah.
Because I'll put a feather in there, but I'm not recommending this to anybody else at all. This is something that I do, and I'm an adult, and I make dumb decisions. So
I got these hand dipped beeswax candles. I did them on the stovetop. You dip in a wick.
you're going all out, man. You're just.
Yeah, I was trying.
Do you have a roommate in your dorm? Cause
I don't. Unfortunately, I live alone. Yeah.
That dude would be confused and angry all the time.
Oh yeah, freshman year I had some, and I put on the outfit one night for them. They were like, "Oh my god, this is so cool!" So fortunately, they were down with it. But I figured these are probably pretty legit. Now beeswax, I've heard maybe not. Folks on the poorer end of the spectrum are not.
Yeah, it's one of those
beeswax.
guys that be like, you shouldn't carry. It's fine. Carry a beeswax candle. Like tallow candles are super common, but if I still have all the deer I shoot, whenever we process the tallow, it goes for greasing up moccasins and things, and then so yeah, tallow candles are awesome, but for what we're doing, you don't need to go that. I don't think you need to go that extreme unless you really feel the need to make tallow candles, and you might at some point in your dorm room, and it's going to be interesting.
They'll smell interesting too. And then the last thing is this journal. I have yet to write anything in. To be honest with you, the only evidence of this that I have is like some picture in a Lewis and Clark book, which is getting to be out of our time period. But I know people were writing out there. It's bound with some threads like that.
I know, it's cool. And like these pocket books like they carry, I still carry one. I keep all my papers in it, like my trade license that exists, Dwayne. Letters of credit. I've got some friends who are really into period written materials. So when you're traveling 18th century, I mean, you need more than your driver's license now. Like you need to prove who you are, that you're not a runaway servant.
Wow,
so I stash all that in my book, and then like my book I end up using for writing down. If I find a nice deer trail or something, I'll draw a quick map in there or something, or just for me, if I have an idea randomly when I'm walking around in the woods or, you know, something I want to write that about, write it right down.
Yeah.
You know, never, yeah. I don't believe every frontiersman is walking around with a journal, but, you know, for what we do and the number of times I've seen them there's nothing wrong with
Yeah,
it at all.
probably plenty couldn't write or
Yeah.
read for that matter, so. That makes sense. I guess last thing that I got here is the Flintlock. It's a Kibler Colonial kit. And I don't really keep a whole lot in the patch box here, which is sticking on me. There's actually nothing in there right now, but that's the only other possible little compartment that I might have
Right.
in my kit. Be curious to hear, I guess, what you keep in yours.
A clean and jag and a ball puller. Well, the jag fits in there nicely. The ball pullers, most of them are a little big. That's what I'll keep in there with some greased patches, a piece of feather. That's what I use to put in the touch hole. A Tip Baker put this articles years ago that I still think is an awesome idea. Is whenever you're in camp with a loaded gun, put the feather in the touch hole, close it, and then that's like a symbol to everybody else in camp that that gun is loaded. You know, so you know.
It's good. Yeah.
But but yeah, patching, a cleaning jag. Do you have the
do.
the wiping end on the other side?
Yep.
You're ahead of the curve, man.
I think
Yes, this is the. Yeah, this is what you're. I mean, like I said, you nailed it because this is what you're looking for period guns for as far as cleaning jags.
That's all Jim Kibler there.
Yeah.
He's got that piece in the kit, and I've just screwed it on.
Because you'll find when you're shooting it, I do the pre-patch ball, and then you kind of thumb start it, I smack it with a pocket knife, and then with this, you don't need a short starter. You got that nice little piece of metal there to help ram it down. But let's see how that, and then I'd get a couple jags to put in the patch box with some like the greased rags or something like that, and that keeps it from rattling around and you hear it.
Yeah, that's a good.
But then you can quickly clean your gun. But no, you did an awesome job on this too.
Yeah, thank you. I got to credit. You know, I was there with Jim Kibler and Wallace Gussler, Western Kentucky University NMLRA gunsmithing seminar. That's the move if you're looking to get into a good quality kit. I certainly saved for it, and I actually got a university grant, subject of another video, but that's how I managed to pull that off.
No, and then just getting to hang out with Wallace is always an interesting time.
Oh, yeah.
He's an amazing individual.
He's great. And then we're sitting on this buffalo hide, which we've talked throughout the morning about how heavy it is. It's commercially tanned. It's got a real thick, probably about a 1/4 inch, thickness on that leather throughout the entire thing. So that's coming in. It's got to be upwards of 40 pounds at least. It's a lot to carry. And on one occasion, I've hauled it out into the woods, and I started off with Tumpline Bedroll, all that, plus the hide, and I had like a second kind of makeshift Tumpline and couldn't make it more than probably 50 steps, and I had to drop that hide and come back for it in a second run. So maybe not great for an overnighter in the woods, but in an event like this.
Right. Oh yeah. If you're doing a setup in an event like a reenactment, it's amazing. And like your brain tan ones, like I said, are generally a little bit thinner, but and like I said, getting rid of some of the stuff that you don't need, that helps lighten up your gear. And then if you want to try, take the hide and with no blanket, switch it kind of up.
To close, I did mention at the beginning, is there anything here that I don't have? It sounds like overall, maybe cut down on the cups. Food is okay. I'd like to do a little more research in that area.
Right.
Winter mocks, maybe sew in with a different material. There's some things, throughout the spread.
Now, don't get me wrong, with you sew with that like a thicker linen thread, you're going to be fine. But what I found is, especially in the summer, for summer mocks and things where they are going to get wet and dry out on a regular basis, the best way to sew is with like leather wang. And the German tan or non-natural tan, like this stuff cutting into a lace, it's horrible. It breaks. But like brain tan stuff or bark tan stuff, and the trick is, everybody, when we start doing all this hobby, you like to make leather lace, you start cutting in a circle. You don't want to do that.
Okay, I was curious
for
about that,
short pieces, because you only need about a foot and a half section to do an entire pair of moccasins. Cut with the grain of the hide.
Okay.
Then you wet them, stretch them out, and I'll actually cut a notch on each end, and then rub that with beeswax and let it dry. And so it actually has like a natural needle on that. So when you use the yawl, it goes through a lot quicker.
That's a great idea.
You know, because I've not worn a pair of shoes, 18th century shoes, for a number of years now, just because my hunting camp's iron ore ground, so it was eating up every pair of shoes I had.
Wow.
So it's just like if you practice at them, you can start really knocking them out. And if you're making moccasins, don't overthink it. You know, they are a primitive footwear. You know, you don't need to get out the slide rule and stuff to make them. You can.
It's been my enemy.
You know.
I sat and stared at the pattern for these forever. I was just looking at it like, oh, is this going to be right? And I cut it out on a sheet of paper and folded it up around my foot so many times. It was like, at a point, you just got to dive into it.
Yeah, and having just scrap material like if you have a piece of linen that's not good for anything else, cut a pattern out of that. You know, because then you can kind of get the idea of the bends and things.
Yeah.
You know, because it is, especially if you spend the money on that brain tan or bark tan or something, it's gonna hurt whenever you cut into that. So for moccasins, I recommend guys getting that German tan leather because you're not gonna break the bank, and if you do get out and use this stuff, they're gonna break down.
Yeah.
And even at a site like this, most historic sites have like the blacktop driveway kind of things everywhere you go. That'll eat your moccasins up in no time flat because you're basically walking on sandpaper. So, you know, you'll wear your moccasins out quicker somewhere like this than you will in the woods.
Good tips. Anything here you see that I don't have that I should add? One kind of, I guess, insecurity has been that I have not had the opportunity to hunt with the Flintlock. So any accoutrements that might come out of that, I do have some cleaning jags and things, but anything that could possibly come out of that, I have yet to explore, and then I've never been actually trapping before. And I saw this morning you were packing up a couple of traps and some things like that. Those are both areas I have yet to really get into.
And we'll work on that. Like, seriously, you and me, we need to get together and go out and do some hunting trips, or do some trapping. And it that stuff kind of comes with time. Like I said, the cleaning jag, you'll need that for reenactments, for shooting, hunting. That's good to have on you. The best thing you can get ready for hunting, and it's not something you can see here, is get out and shoot. Get out and shoot as much as possible. Get used to what your gun can do, and loading out of your bag. You know, that's half the battle there.
Yeah.
If you can keep a consistent group in a dinner plate at 50 to 75 yards, you're going to be ahead of the game at most modern muzzleloader hunters. And just doing that, loading out of that, practicing, going back and forth. Because like you got a new horn now, you know.
I got a whole new setup.
There's some experiment with where you're going to want that to rest.
Yep.
You know how moving hands, going back and forth. You know so things like that. It's like for what you're trying to do now. I think you got a good setup. I can't think of anything that you really need. I'll remember on the drive home. But most of it is just getting out and doing it. Even if you're just getting out in your modern clothes, to shoot the gun or go take a walk. If I'm shooting, I generally wear this jacket. Even with, I have it stashed in the trunk of my car, so when I go to the camp, even for hunting, I'll have modern clothes on this jacket because I have all my stuff in it.
Yeah.
So I get used to knowing where everything's at.
That's awesome.
If you think about it, think about somebody that works on a job site with a tool belt. You don't see them fumbling around trying to find the ruler or try to find a screwdriver. They know exactly where their stuff's at on them, so they're doing it naturally.
Yep.
Because the people I know, like Simeon, a friend of mine, Jesse Maines, even Dwayne, guys that look good in their stuff, and you're out with them, knowing your kit, it helps improve your confidence, and then to my eye, looking at guys, it makes you look more 18th century than all the hand-sewn clothes in the world. If you know your stuff, are confident in what you're doing, and practice, because no one's, we're all just rank amateurs compared to guys like Ken and Boone. We're not even on like the charts. That's like comparing like a quarterback in a Pee Wee football game to Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And it's just getting out and doing the stuff. And really trying to drag other friends or other people into it with you, because like right now you're doing a lot of stuff on your own, and I'm sure it gets boring. I get so tired talking to myself in the woods.
Yep.
But when you get a group of like-minded people, go somewhere. It's just overnight and the weekend. Get out, and then you can kind of see what other people do, and then that also helps you develop your gear. Because like every time I pack now, I'm packing thinking that I'm going with a group of guys that I know. So you know, there's things now like this, like the cups, the things. That's what taught me that. You know that you only need so many drinking vessels.
Yeah.
You know, you only need so many fire starting kits. 'Cause especially if you're trying to go correctly, these guys are losing, breaking regular stuff all the time.
Yeah.
So try to go out without a blanket. You know, try to go out with just the stuff that you're wearing, as if you went out to go hunting and you got separated, or you just had to run away from Indians. So what you just have on you, you know, the suck factor increases as far as you're sitting there in the woods, but it's also you learn a lot more about your stuff and what you really need.
Yeah, those are great tips. This to me kind of represents not necessarily a rebirth, but it's what I've been working towards with the channel and this passion throughout college. Now I'll graduate in a month with a kit that it seems as this is about what I will want to carry in the future. I'll make some adjustments and tweaks and upgrades and maybe throw out some cups. But now it seems like I have the gear, and it's going to be getting the skills now, shooting more, hunting more, putting myself in some of those uncomfortable situations to really learn.
And I've been hitting up guys lately, big time, fire making. If you're just sitting in your room, sit there and just practice.
Yeah.
You know, and it sounds stupid, but it's like, you know, I watch guys who, you go to old school rendezvous, those guys would fire making contests, they'd be making fire like they were striking matches.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just goofy skills like that that are something you can do while you're sitting there watching Netflix.
Yeah.
You're hanging out at the house and you're bored, and you know, you should be working on something else, but you're like, I'm just gonna sit here. Stuff like that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that helps you develop your skills over time. That when you come to an event and you have to make a fire, you know, you're just like, then people are looking at you like, wow, that guy's really good. It's like, no, he's got a lot of free time.
Yeah. Yep. So it sounds like I got the gear. Now let's
Yeah.
get reps. And
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to that. Appreciate your guidance. Thank you
Oh,
again.
no problem, man. Thank you.
I know we've taken quite a bit of time and have, you know, eaten into the day a little bit. So can't say thank you enough. Thank you. Thank you.
It's fun to watch my first video of yours live.
Yeah.
You know, like a little live studio audience in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody hold up the laugh sign.
Got Bobby traipsing through